Welcome to Everyday Martial Artist, a weekly podcast where you'll join me, Brian Doucette, as I interview a different martial artist each episode and hear their story. Some guests you may have heard of, and some you probably haven't. Be sure to subscribe where all your favorite podcasts are available. Also visit our website at everydaymartialartist.com. If you're listening for a specific interview, I sure hope you'll stay and check out the other episodes. A very special thank you to Topher Williams for our custom theme music. And now, the newest episode of Everyday Martial Artist. Everyday Martial Artist is brought to you by KOOnline.com for all your martial arts needs. Sparring and safety gear, rank belts, uniforms, weapons, patches, and more. Wholesale supplies made by martial artists for martial artists. Visit us today at ko-online.com. Hey, business leaders, want your audience more focused than a monk in a staring contest? Want them grinning bigger than when they found out their in-laws aren't coming for Christmas? Then you need the amazing Arthur Fratelli. Arthur is a TEDx speaker, Last Comic Standing alum, and lifelong martial artist, traveling the country, captivating audiences at conferences, corporate events, and schools. His high-energy keynotes blend failure, focus, and flow with comedy, magic, and jaw-dropping skill. Facts fade, but stories stick, and Arthur delivers a TEDx-worthy experience they'll never forget. Book now at theamazingarthur.com, because your event deserves more energy than a caffeine-fueled ninja. Hello and welcome to Everyday Martial Artist. I'm your host, Brian Doucette, and as we do every week, we're joined by a brand new guest talking about their life and their journey throughout the world of martial arts. My guest today started his training in the prestigious and famous academy Sambo 70. His most noted victories are gold and silver medals in the 2 All-Soviet Cups. Upon arriving in the U.S., he medaled in 3 U.S. Open events and had the honor to represent America in the Combat Sambo World Championship. He won multiple medals at Grapplers Quest and NAGA events and was awarded Most Technical Fighter, and this was all without any formal BJJ training. He went on to achieve his BJJ black belt in 2017, currently has his own academy in Edinburg, Texas called the Koulikov Grappling Academy, where he teaches a blend of Sambo and BJJ. He travels to teach seminars and also quite a few instructional DVDs. Please welcome my guest today, Mr. Vlad Koulikov. How are you doing today, sir?
Oh, thank you. Doing well, sir. And that was one of the best introductions ever. Somebody loves doing homework.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I appreciate that, and I appreciate your time. I know we've been trying to do this for a while, so I'm glad we're finally making it happen.
Right. Yes. Our good friend Keith, right, put us together. So
yep.
I'm glad it's happening, and thank you for your patience and the opportunity to tell you my story, told the listeners the story.
Awesome. Well, what we like to do with all my guests, I want to go back to the very beginning. I want to know where it all started, where that first interest came from, that first spark that kicked off your martial arts journey.
Got you. So I'm 50 years old currently.
Okay.
Was born in the 70s, and it was... I took after my dad. Right, my dad was my. So I'm so sorry. What I was trying to say, like the sex and gender stereotypes were fine in Soviet Russia, and it was okay to be a boy and do what boys do. And I was just absolutely enamored with my father's physical ability. He was a strong man. He would do like tremendous feats of strength, such as bending 10 penny nails or wrapping them around fingers.
Wow.
Or bending quarters and stuff, or putting bicycle chains around chest or bicep in a relaxed state, and then when he flexed, the chains will rip. And he dabbled a little bit with boxing and freestyle wrestling. So naturally, my dad was my first idol, if you will, or hero, or a role model, whatever you want to call it. He was one of those.
Okay.
And it was no mistake and nothing like weird that I naturally took to martial arts. My cousin it was my cousin who brought me to Sambo 70, which is one of the most prestigious, if not the best, Sambo academies in the world. 70 is because of the year of foundation, 1970.
Right.
It was luckily for me, fortunately for me, coincidentally, it was a couple blocks away from my apartment complex. And my cousin Vasily, his name Basil, I guess would be a transliteration, he took me there. And as soon as I put my foot on a Sambo mat, I fell in love immediately. And honestly, it was like one of those things I knew I was going to do that for the rest of my life,
Yeah.
I was not bullied in school. I did not have any ADD. Martial arts were not means of salvation of my social life or things like that. I was a normal kid, and just having certain stereotypes of men should be, and doing Sambo wrestling did fit into that stereotype.
Wow.
And that's where I started my martial arts training, 1984, in a Sambo 70 Academy.
Nice. Same as me, 1984. I was 10 years old in 1984. I started in Tong Sudo.
Thanks to the nice.
Yeah, that's very cool. So what age were you then? You would have been what?
I was 9.
Nine.
I was
Okay.
9.
Yeah.
Yes. Before that, so what happened? My cousin Vasily, he was not a Muscovite. I was a Muscovite. I was born in Moscow. He was from periphery, from Moldova, actually, Republic of Moldova, and he was getting a trade. He was in trade school after 8th grade in Soviet Russia or Soviet Union, whatever. You had a couple choices. You could have stayed in high school, all right, and finished 10 years of school. Or after 8th grade, you can depart, but you'd have to go to a technical school. So that's what Vasily did, right? He came to Moscow to go to technical school, be a welder, actually, out of all things.
Wow.
And we would go to his hostel, right, where he resided. And there was a basement, fully matted. And people do like literally MMA there, because some people did freestyle wrestling, some people did sambo, some people did forbidden karate, and they just like threw down literally and figuratively in all sorts of forms. So it's kind of like MMA, but heavily sambo based. And as soon as I saw that, I like fell in love. But I was I was 8 years junior.
Mhm.
So if he was 14 at the time, makes me much younger. So I could not hang with those boys. I'd be like enamored with them and maybe play like soccer with a boxing glove in the corner, or maybe get a piggyback ride. But I loved it. And at one point, my cousin said, "Hey, Vlad, instead of just looking at us, why don't you go with your own peers?" And that's how he dropped me off at Sambo 70.
Nice. And how long were you there before you entered your first competition?
So altogether, I spent there 5 years,
Okay.
84 to 85, and then I switched schools. But my first competition was relatively soon, maybe too soon. I don't know, in the grand scheme of things. And I thought I was pretty good. And, objectively, I was. I was in great physical shape. I certainly did have, like some kind of talent, or knack, if you will, or whatever,
Mhm.
some kind of predisposition. And I was doing good, with kids of my age on the mat. And I think I was thrown in the first competition within a few months. And I guess I still did not understand the whole thing. And oh my goodness, Brian, I did not know if I was coming or going, man. I was like thrown all over the mat, and I never cried because my dad forbid me, But I remember my eyes were broken and I just could not stop crying. And on the first tournament, which was like shortly after, the same story happened. And I think, man, I got tossed either with a hip toss or headlock. And I think like my rib got landed on, So on one hand, maybe I could have like spent more time on technique, and maybe it would have been healthy in competition because I would have known what to expect. On the other hand, sink or swim kind of worked out too. So I really don't know, So like sometimes when I am to make such decision for my students, I usually dwell on a safer side,
Yeah.
And after the first couple lost tournaments, there could have been 3. I don't remember exactly, man. I was 9.
Mhm.
So after 2 or 3 tournaments where I got my butt whooped, eventually I kind of got dialed in. There was a bit of a break, and next tournament I entered was like months and months after. And that's when I truly started to shine. I gained confidence and I took first place. I think I wrestled, 4 matches or whatever.
Nice.
And yeah. And my wrestling style and true cognition really did not kick in. I was just going with the same sacrifice throw and pinning technique, And just kind of it's like uki-otoshi, uki-waza. I'll just like spinning kids and whipping them with a sacrifice throw. And only later, like real technique and strategy came around. But yeah, that was like third or fourth tournament was the one that broke the mold, so to speak. And I stopped crying and started winning.
And you said you were at that school about 5 years. What made you decide to go to a different school after that?
Well, I could have stayed, and should have stayed. So, if you will, let me like put a carriage in front of the horse.
Mhm.
So, I kind of regretted leaving so early because years later I went back to Sambo 70. 3 years later, just to get in shape or whatever, and like practice my own moves because I was still in good terms with everybody. And once in a blue moon, I'd be asked to be a sparring partner, and that's when I realized that 3 years of not doing this, is like might be a lifetime, especially at the age of like 14, 15, and 16.
Yeah.
Really, yeah. So anyway, I have somebody in my life that influenced me. And again, I kind of don't know whether it was a good thing or bad thing. He kind of influenced me, saying that I'm paying too much attention to athletics and there is no future in it, and they'll use me up, blah, 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 and that I should dedicate my time to academy instead. And I took this person's advice, and the person to be ended up to be like a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
But advice, though, still, I don't know what, I'm not saying that advice was necessarily bad. So I kind of disappeared from training for about 3 years, maybe a little bit more. And I started to dabble in Asian martial arts because, kicking people in the head was amazing.
Yep.
And yeah. And I did not persevere. I was in great shape, after Sambo wrestling for 5 years. My coordination was excellent or whatever, physical ability. I started to pick up karate or kung fu or whatever, taekwondo, whatever I was doing at the time. But the habit of like hard wrestling and like true mad grit, disappeared. And so whenever I came back 3-5 years later, I think, to be honest with you, I could never catch up with that gap with people who never left,
Mm-hmm.
But, of course, I got, quite good and everything else. But this is something I teach people not to do, not to regret. But I do regret that little departure. However, in the same token, Brian, that departure from athletics really skyrocketed, my studying time and capacities. That's when I truly started to dedicate time to studying English. So whenever I came to United States, I spoke pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I had great confidence. I would not like eat my words, so to speak, or be silent and stuff. I had ability to speak, express myself, albeit with an accent, and it only got better from then. And also dedicate some time to studying philosophy and art and literature and things that I loved,
Nice.
So on one hand, there were kind of lost years that I will never catch up ever, That's the capital you can never get back. But on the other hand, I was able to develop my persona and personality like elsewhere. So
nice. Then when you went back, then how long did you stay the second time?
Well, next time I got into grappling, it was not Sambo. I never stopped after that. So
okay.
Yes, after my initial 5-year stint where I got like really great skills,
Mm-hmm.
because the grind and routine were excellent and you become good. And so after 3-5 years of like doing like Asian martial arts without full intent, and contact or whatever, once I came back to martial arts on a serious note, I have never left, so to speak, right? And the way I came back to grappling was already in the United States. I moved here when I was 21. I could not find a Sambo gym, or nothing like that. So I started with Taekwondo, and at one point I saw like a little ad. Flyer. It was a flyer, like on a telephone pole or a ShopRite or somewhere. And it was ad for a Grapplers Club in Warwick, New York, where I lived. And it was held like in a Thanks to Do place, out of all places.
Nice.
That's where I started to do grappling. And the guy who was teaching it was very knowledgeable. He was the one actually who opened my eyes to many, many other grappling styles and arts. Because I only knew Sambo, Judo, and Olympic, freestyle Greco.
Mm-hmm.
And he taught me about Luta Livre and catch wrestling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Shuto and Pancrase. And he would give me like VHSs, and it blew my mind. I'm like, oh my goodness, there's like so much. The world of grappling goes way beyond what I have known,
Mm-hmm.
And but he himself was not like a good athlete or performer, and I would smoke him with all his knowledge. It did not matter because fundamentals won fights. But I'm not saying it in a malicious or braggadocious way. I'm just saying I was a competitor, and he was not. He was just a teacher. And shortly after that, I kind of realized, man, if Gino, his name was Gino, if Gino can teach classes, man, heck, so can I.
Nice.
And I opened up my first academy called Ultimate Sambo. A great academy. It was in a basement of my home. It was like a larger home, and our basement did not have any Christmas junk or none of that. It was fully right. No junk store. It was fully facilitated for grappling training, and we had some MMA fighters there. Some judokers, some Sambo national champions. It was a great place. We moved 6 years later to a commercial location.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we did, man. I did not call Sambo Fusion then, but I started to blend Sambo into Jiu-Jitsu training. And I competed in a lot of grappling tournaments or Jiu-Jitsu tournaments or grappling tournaments with Jiu-Jitsu rule set or mindset, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But I never formally trained, man. I just like pick up from videos and try to adapt. And it was kind of, again, it was a two-handed, it was a double-sided rather medal. Because I lost quite a few matches that I could have won or should not have lost due to lack of guidance. If somebody like me, was guiding me back then, I think I would have done much better. But the upside is whatever discoveries I made was made by myself, and they were always like learned through like lesson of pain of losing. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So often the lessons that I learned and implement were painful. That's why I never forget them, from competition. And whatever I make adjustment to a technique, or put my faith in a technique, it only meant that it was competition tested, and I forged it. I did not make it up. That's what I forged techniques, and it was a lot of trial and error. And if I was guided by someone like myself, I think there would be way less, error, and way more less trial, and just like effectiveness. That's why blue belts nowadays can acquire blue belt reasonably within 1 year, opposed to like 3 or 4 in the old days, because the skill acquisition system is so refined, and jiu-jitsu is so saturated in a bad and a good way, that like the system are in place that you can learn jiu-jitsu super efficiently, and there's really no reason, other than discipline or something, to hold somebody in rank of white belt after 1 year.
Right.
All my students are excellent at fundamentals. If they train 3 times a week or more, they are all excellent fundamentals, and they all understand how jiu-jitsu works, and they can look at the YouTube video and tell me, what, coach, this is BS, because it does not no principles apply. Like, you cannot break a bone like this, it's BS. Right. And other times they know. So boom, my coaching's job is halfway completed, because I just taught them how to teach themselves simply by introducing to proper fundamentals,
Mm-hmm. So before you had that revelation, when you were with your coach and you thought, hey, I can do this too. Mm-hmm. Had you had any thought about teaching before that?
Yes. Remember when I stepped on a mat? I knew I was going to do it all my life.
Yep.
And I always wanted to be a teacher.
Cool.
Yes.
Where do you think that comes from? Is anyone in your family that was a teacher? Or?
But no, nobody was. So I was what they call captain of the class.
Okay.
Let me tell you what it is. Like, usually whenever in martial arts or combat sports in Russia, people start to train, regardless whether it's Asian or not, people line up. Maybe they don't bow, but there's like a line up, and usually captain of the class gives a report to a coach and whatever to train. It's somewhat very militant,
Mm-hmm.
And usually in America, people, the rest of the world, line up by belt ranking, But in Sambo, there is no belt ranking, and everybody will be lined up by height. And I would have been somewhere in the middle, I guess. I'm not all that tall. But because I was captain of the class, I was always the one who will line other kids up.
Okay.
And then I will report to my coach, and then I will be the one to do the warm-up, And at one point, my coach had a knee surgery, and he gave me like oh my goodness, it's such a crazy story, come to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
So he had a knee surgery, and he was out, Brian, I don't know, at least for a month. I'm trying to remember. And he gave me a journal with a very detailed lesson plan written for every day and every training session for his absence.
Wow.
And in his absence, I started to teach, to run his classes. And I remember a couple times coaches, from other classes would walk in, and I will ask him to teach, and they'll start to teach their own curriculum. I'm like, no, teach what my coach told you, And I developed and to be honest with you, a bit of a authoritarian persona, because I had to, I was a child, man, and I had to execute, my coach's will. And I'll be like punishing people, and I have them sit out and everything else.
Nice.
And and whatever I decide to, and they listen to me, right? I was like, 11 years old. And whenever I'll unbench him and we'll wrestle, they go extra hard on me. I loved it. So, and eventually, like, I asked my friend, am I going too hard? And my good friend said, yes, Vlad, you've been a bit of a dick, And that's all I needed to hear. And I corrected that. But again, the upside of running, the practices, Iron Fist and Velvet Glove, is that when my coach came back in, like nothing happened. All the classes of that age usually compete in the beginning and end of the year,
Mm-hmm.
And so let's say there are like 4 coaches, and each coach runs a group of 30 kids of certain age, and then these 4 groups compete against each other, in between grade competition. And we competed in the beginning when coach was pre-surgery, and we won. And then after he came back, and we should have been like undisciplined and fallen apart. But when my coach came back, we won in between grade competition yet again,
Mm-hmm.
So a little kid like myself, because of my discipline and belief in my coach, we did this crazy thing, And so, long story short, I always had that little special spot
Okay.
where I felt like a leader and all that stuff. And I guess teaching and life, a love for science, like physics and geometry, and linking martial arts with physics and geometry and in history kind of came to play. And perhaps I have a bit of a teacher, like a archetype.
Mm-hmm.
So teaching feels very natural. And like if I allow myself generously to live 100 years, so half the time is already gone. And I still believe wholeheartedly I chose the only right profession for myself,
Nice.
because sometimes people have like cold feet or evolve or devolve or change their mind somehow.
Yeah.
No, ever since I put my foot on the mat at 9 years old, through my 20s and 30s, and now I love what I'm doing and feel very grateful to universe, to God, to private, whoever and whatever chance that I've been put on this path, and I enjoy teaching, man.
That's awesome.
Priority has shifted, and it's so nice to be that guy to most people that join that I wanted to be in my life, 25 years ago.
Yeah, definitely. So how long did you stay in New York, and was Texas next, or was there someplace in between there?
No, I came, in New York was 98 till 2021.
Oh, wow. Okay. You were there
Yeah, so
quite a
23
while.
years in New York. Yes, I was like in a tri-state area, or like even like quattro state area, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. So it was like equally easy to get all those states. And stay there. Had my academy called Ultimate Sambo for 12 years. Got divorced. Unfortunately, fortunately, whatever, got divorced and lost that gym, Ultimate Sambo. You can find highlights and stuff. And then I taught for some time, for like 7 to 8 years. I've taught privates, a lot of seminars. I've taught for different people. Man, I remember in 2015, I did 26 or 28 seminars.
Wow.
Some of them will fly out because I was free agent,
Yeah.
And at one point, after I came from Japan, winning a World Combat Wrestling Championship, I'm like, you know what? I think I'm ready for my own gym. It was like literally like overnight.
Yeah.
And not waiting too much longer, I started Koulikov Grappling Academy. Maybe in retrospect, I should have called it Fusion Grappling Academy, but also the name represents my own personal findings and searchings, you know what I'm saying, and teachings or whatever.
Definitely.
My own personal experience, so I guess Koulikov will do. Because for a second I thought, is this, too much of myself, too presumptuous? But nah, it's okay. And in 2021, I've been looking to leave New York for quite some time. An opportunity presented itself, so my family just got packed and we moved to Texas.
Nice.
And we've been here ever since post Christmas 2021.
Okay. And when did you decide to start actually getting actual training in BJJ?
Yeah, so it was weird. Like I said, I would compete in BJJ events without being properly ranked, and I always competed from the very first competition. Grapplers Quest. I would be always in advanced or expert division or whatever, black belt division. And just like adopting literally everything I see, seminar here, video cassette there, blah 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 blah. And it was not until meeting my good friend Michael Palladino, and through him, my current Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu master, Rafael Formiga, Rafael Barbosa. And with him is when my Jiu-Jitsu journey started formally and willingly. I evolved as a grappler through deeper understanding of jiu-jitsu and giving it a true go, as opposed to just blending and finding pieces that work. Once I dedicated spending some time on getting skill set in passing and sweeping, which are exclusive, jiu-jitsu traits, only then I started to understand the art and the true blend and how they might be appearing. Sambo and Jiu-Jitsu it is, right? Or other grappling arts. They often could be appearing as mutually exclusive. And they might be, and if you tell yourself, even more so. But in very depth, you can always derive something from something and kind of blend them in, so to speak, and choose what works and make them mutually complementary, opposed to mutually exclusive.
Nice. And your current school in Texas, have you been at the same location since you opened, or have you moved since you got there?
No, sir. As once I moved in there, it's a beautiful gym, a large space, kind of open, looks super clean and welcoming. We have a giant mat space, over 2,000 square feet, like 2,300, I want to say, or something like that. And our mats spring-loaded, so it's fun to take
Nice.
falls and stuff. We have crash pads, showers. It's amazing. So yeah, same spot. Ever since I moved into Texas, and ever since we built KGA in Edinburg, Texas, it's been in the same location.
Yeah, I'm looking at the pictures on the website. It's a beautiful school. That's cool.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And how many students do you have?
We have about 100 right now.
Not bad.
We need more, but yeah, 100. We still new. We still in what I call paying the piper time, so to speak. Oh, many different business books that I read, trying to because I'm not a businessman, like I'm from Soviet Union. Business is like it's like the devil. It's complete opposite of everything I was raised to believe.
Yep.
But I understand I need to make it work. I can expand further, by the way. I know it's semi funny and semi not.
Yeah.
Anyway, every business book I study or whatever, they all say 3 to 5 years, is the most crucial, and to be spending in the same spot, and only then you become like a fixture of that little location and people know you. Because even now, people sometimes don't even know that we are here, and I think because we are in a good commercial location and we spend some time on, and money and effort on marketing, I would imagine everybody would know where we are and what we do. But no, there's a lot of people, even in jiu-jitsu community here, they still don't know. You know what I'm saying? And now, after roughly 3 years, I've noticed like a true switch and quality of people that come in, and a true interest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we are on a true rise uplifting starting now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Paying the piper.
Yeah,
time.
That's good. So think back to maybe that first time your instructor gave you that manual to teach while he was out, or back when you were like the class captain and stuff, all the way to now. You've been running your own school for some time. What do you think has changed the most about your teaching style over all those years?
Oh my goodness. So great question. When I started to teach in like late 90s, I was having a lot of presumptions of people capacities. I was impatient. I was, athletically gifted. I was doing like backtacks and flips and all sorts of bridges. And I kind of forget that people that join Sambo or wrestling or grappling arts middle age or whatever, or not as kids, they have a difficulty understanding all those movements,
Yeah.
I often did not know how to explain and verbalize what I do, because a lot of my own discoveries were like in a moment and intuitive. And I will just repeat them every time without breaking them down verbally and like step by step. And it was very hard because I have to slow down, explain to myself what I do, in good English, and possibly with metaphors and like examples of physics, and patience. Patience, observing people, connecting to athlete's psyche, because sometimes, man, all my guys know what to do. I'm not going to scream, Johnny, do armbar, because it will alert his opponent that Johnny's going to do armbar. I know we've gone through this, thing so many times. I know Johnny's going to do armbar, and plus maybe a couple combos on it. It just tapping into the psyche and being connected with them,
Right.
So that's the true coaching mastery. So to sum up, most importantly, just connecting with your students and being like a father figure, because I, also older, and, sometimes you can connect like on a little life example of sorts, and then their trust into you goes like tenfold, and that's when your relationship becomes real productive, because you're like very sensitive to each other's, body language and intonations. And then sometimes I can like go like this or like wink or whatever, say, hey, Johnny, do this thing. And Johnny would know exactly the thing we're talking about. So that's the most important thing, subversive and subverbal communication to a degree, like of almost psychic connection. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to be like so esoteric,
no,
but that's
fine.
the best part. Yeah. I love the aha experience when you introduce something that you fucking forgot already why it even works. Something so simple and trivial, but to somebody it's mind-blowing,
Yeah.
And sometimes that little aha experience becomes so qualifical that like quantity, it shifts the grappler or athlete into completely different quality of understanding. So that's my favorite part.
Okay.
And then also my style changed. I thought I was always technical, meaning my technique was correct. But as I age, I realize that like it's sometimes kind of hard to go straight blast and apply technique, and or it's much funner to set traps. So my whole style became like setting traps. Usually whenever I pull a move, it's like second or third move. Like whenever I do something, I always imply that the first part of the move is not like a waste because it serves a purpose, but it's it's not what I need. I gain a reaction. People overreact or overcommit, and I get to something that is there. So setting traps and being energy efficient and realizing that flashy moves are fun to watch, but what really wins the fights is fundamental control. So evolution of grappling, evolution of
Hmm.
understanding how it works. That changed too, and that is what I try to coach to my students. That jumping arm bars and rolling knee bars are all fun, but just the top-centrific game, like good wrestling, staying on top, passing guard, and investing heavily in strangle techniques out of all grappling techniques, is the true king of like meta games, and that's how I'm convinced. Because I was a leg lock guy, because often I will snap back from somebody's guard for leg lock, but nowadays I'd rather pass guard and squeeze somebody to a degree that they tap. Sometimes not even to like a proper legit submission, but sheerly due to no options left.
Hmm.
And often now, I don't hunt for many submissions per roll because reasonably, if you in a real match or in a real fight, you do not have to do 5 submissions in 5 minutes. Only one will do,
Yeah, true.
Yes. So I learned how to slow down, how to disperse my weight, and everything I do, Brian, is a formula, and everything else in life is formula. And
Nice.
that's how I like to teach in principles and formulas. I'm like, armbar is a position and it's a formula. So long you do this, this, and this. Or side control and pinning is a formula. Sometimes like the little variables change, but the main formula remains like this. Or triangle choke, triangle strangle is a variable, and so forth and so on. So everything in jiu-jitsu is a position, and everything could be explained by principle.
Nice. Do you remember the first ever student you had that started with you as a white belt and you brought all the way to black?
Nice, man. Yes. I remember, every single one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right now, yes, of course. With most of them, I still keep in contact. One of my students, Brian Benjamin, rest in peace. He
Oh,
tragically, committed suicide a few years ago. But
I'm
he,
sorry.
yeah, it's okay. You asked, but yes, I know plenty of people, and I'm super. I remember all my guys who started as a white belt and got to black belt. Speaking of which, I have to put them on my website. And so what I'm most excited about now, Brian, is
Hmm.
to have the new batch of black belts. I'm only 3 years in.
Hmm.
Nobody's going to get a black belt in 3 years.
Right.
But within, maybe 7, I will have my first batch of fresh new Texas students that I took from complete beginners to black belt.
That'll be
So,
cool.
but yes, I remember my very first. Absolutely.
Okay, nice. Now I know you mentioned before, like when you first got to the U.S., you did some like Taekwondo and some other systems. Now, did you stay in any of those long enough to gain any rank?
So I was a black belt in Nihon Kempo Karate already. It's
Really?
like
Okay.
traditional style. And so when I started Taekwondo, it was not Mudo Kwan, it was not Tensudo, it was not Mudo, it was not Hapkido. It was this Olympic WTF style Taekwondo.
Okay.
And I did well. Maybe I was not as light-footed and jumpy and speedy like the true Taekwondo stylist would be, but I enjoyed all the trickery and speed and footwork of Taekwondo. And I achieved brown belt within 1 year,
Nice.
for whatever it's worth. But there was one of those, commercial schools, and everybody who tests and pays would be, brown belt. But I
Yeah.
think I earned my stuff, and I fought in competitions. And then I started to do boxing and kickboxing, and I like kind of and Muay Thai. So my final product, as far as percussive ability, is
Hmm.
very much like a combination of like Thai boxing and Taekwondo, a little of
Okay.
both. Like
Nice.
and Sanda, because like every time I can grapple, I will do that too.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
don't look like a Thai guy. I virtually don't throw knees. I mean, I know how to do them. I don't throw elbows. I do know. I'll throw spinning kicks. I'll throw low kicks. I'll throw X kicks alike, and box pretty much like normal American boxing.
Okay. Very cool. You ever do any weapons training at all over your career?
No, not really. No, no,
Okay.
no. In my first Ultimate Sambo gym, I taught curriculum-based, like curriculum. Sorry, no pun intended.
Hmm.
And there was some weapon defenses. Stick, gun, and a knife.
Okay.
And so stick was the easiest one. Gun defenses were only taught at point blank, because if somebody shoots you from distance, there's nothing I can teach you. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And as far as knives, I always had a precursor, guys. This is the most like unreasonable, unrealistic, and ungrateful type of defense. And what you do is like last type of Hail Mary type of deal. I mean, it's all based on great principle.
Yeah.
But knife defense without guns or knives or some kind of long weapon is one of the least reasonable things.
Hmm.
So I kind of went away from gun and knife and stick defenses, but I still like teaching them.
Okay.
But as far as like nunchucks or size or weapons or sword, Nothing past introductory. No.
Okay, no problem. So I know you all mentioned like, philosophy and stuff too. So is there, over all your career, all your years, is there one philosophy that's at the top of your list?
Oh, absolutely. Stoicism, sir.
Nice.
Stoicism, yeah. Everything you do is in your control, and everything you do not do will turn bad. Be accountable for everything. Count every minute, and try to control things only you can control, and nobody else.
Nice. And at your gym for the Sambo, is it pretty much you just teach the Sambo Fusion, or do you have like a separate BJJ class, a separate?
So, got you. I got you. I rank my people in BJJ because it's going to be too confusing. Judo, Sambo, and BJJ. BJJ. Although I introduce all three skills plus no gi, but the final ranking to avoid confusion is BJJ system. So, a blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, black belt.
Okay.
I have a couple black belts here already, but they started with me as purples or browns. So
Okay.
I do not have a pure white badge yet.
Right. Okay.
What was the question, Brian? There we go. I promised I'll get lost somewhere. What was the original question?
No, I think I just kind of asked if you had like separate. Do you have separate classes for jiu-jitsu?
Yes.
Separate for.
Beautiful. Thank you. So majority of the classes are fusion.
Okay.
I do have a pure Sambo class, Sambo-Judo, because it's virtually the same thing, and it's the same way how you approach and teach it. I know that you have to account for strategies and rule set, but Sambo-Judo could be taught almost identical, more so than Sambo versus Jiu-Jitsu or Jiu-Jitsu versus Judo. I have it on Sunday and Wednesday, and wrestling is on Thursday.
Nice.
But everything else is fusion, more so jiu-jitsu oriented. Usually my class, either ground technique or combination of ground technique, or one stand-up, one ground.
A mixture of kids and adults? Is there one that's more than the other?
No, I have a kids class. I have three age groups, actually.
Okay.
I have like what we call a rolling tykes. Those are 3 to 5 year old kiddos, give or take, because sometimes 5-year-old is ready to go a little bit, to older kids class. And we don't teach them martial arts. They're not capable of understanding the magnitude of face punch or strangulation yet.
Yeah.
We just teach them how to move, how to break, fall, do rolls, shrimps, climbs, push-ups, handstands, stuff like that. And then they graduate to next age group, 5 or 6 to 11 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I start studying jiu-jitsu and or kickboxing.
Nice. I'm not very familiar with that area. Is it Edinburg, Texas? What size community is that? And do you know like roughly how many other martial arts schools are in that area?
Yes, I got you. So we are here in the middle, smack in the middle of a tribal little trifecta: Edinburg, McAllen, and Pharr, Pharr.
Okay.
And for example, Diego Ferreira, a UFC middleweight, I think he is, right? Whatever, doesn't matter the way. Diego Ferreira, he's here and Pharr, and he's probably one of the most legit and merited, accoladed, if you will. Not that other people not legit. I'm talking about accolades. He's probably the most accoladed here. And yes, we do have a lot of jiu-jitsu, and because we're virtually in Mexico, we have a lot of striking,
Okay.
Guys here like throwing down, boxing, kickboxing. So there's plenty of good striking, a lot of percussive martial arts, pure boxing, Muay Thai, kickboxing, all that stuff. A lot of jiu-jitsu, a lot of good, legit jiu-jitsu, a lot of, not so good. like everywhere, I guess. So It's somewhat saturated. And McAllen by itself is the biggest. I used to live in McAllen, and then I moved, across the road to Edinburg. McAllen has, I want to say, 148,000 population.
Okay.
And Edinburg a little bit less, and Pharr a little bit less. So it's pretty populated, like urban area.
Okay, nice, very cool. Yeah. So over all your years, what's your worst martial arts related injury?
Oh, okay. I have a couple. You know what? I was lucky enough. I remember when I started Taekwondo, but back in '98 or whatever, and I kind of jumped so hard into it, and I was kicking so hard, all the mitts that barely give you support. Like whenever you kick a bag or a hard pad, like you meet resistance. But I did a lot of air kicking, and I went complete like ape rap with my enthusiasm. I tore my hamstring.
Oh.
And I did not even know what I did. I remember it was like a drill. I was in the middle of a circle, and I would like kick everybody. Well, it was pretty cool. And I remember it gets more and more and more painful with every kick. And I kind of fell down quietly, because I don't want to make scene, but yet I could not remain standing. I dropped quietly, like clutching at my hamstring. I tore it. It got black and blue like a horror movie.
Wow.
But it healed pretty fast, and I guess I'm okay. Another injury got related to martial arts. I ate illegal knee, a foul knee. I was on my knees, and a very skilled guy, Thai boxer, kneed me in the face from standing position.
Oh.
That messed me up like for a year, some kind of TMJ. And then I skated away for years, everything like minor bruises or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the last couple times I got badly hurt was against very skilled heavyweights who black belts and skilled and with a little, pharmaceutical help as well.
Yeah.
So with one guy, he mat returned me. It's called mat return when somebody body hogs you, but as opposed to suplexing you, which is actually better. It looks scarier, but it's better. He mat returned me, which means like you elevate somebody fully, feet and hands off the mat, and then you return them to the mat with force. And it's a weird goddamn takedown where you cannot apply proper ukemi,
Yeah.
And I posted my right arm, and two combined weights came on one arm. I dislocated my shoulder immediately, and I asked the guy to stop. And I was so warmed up, like I took my shirt off, and I'm looking at my shoulder that is like in front of my face, and I'm kind of like massaging and touching it with my left hand. And out of nowhere, whoop, it goes back in my socket. I was so warmed up and so hot, it went back in there. And I thought, oh, I'm golden, I'm great. But no, what happened, my humerus bone sheared like roughly half of the cartilage, in the socket by that little shear action, scissor action.
Dang.
And I had to get it extracted, the cartilage, the excess cartilage. No, not the excess, the broken up piece.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like I don't have a half of the cartilage in my right shoulder. And year after that, I got my pec torn. I shot on a single leg with my right arm being between somebody's legs. They collected Kimura grip of their own, and I kind of like tore, strongly, and the guy was strong. And what was funny, my grip, never broke, so Kimura never took effect. But sheer effort of like locking and catching tore my major pectoralis.
Wow.
So like that right shoulder is completely messed up. But whatever, like I still can move it, man. I can even hang on it. I can do double hand. I used to be able to do one arm pull up on either arm. Now I cannot do it on that arm, but I rehabbed it, and as good as it gets. So guys, be careful, man. As an advice, do not go like realize you're mortal. Pick your roles when you're older. Don't be afraid to say no. Both times I heard. So not only they were like skilled and big and whatever, like I said, self-admittedly using steroids. I also was like about to quit like a minute before. I thought I got enough of the workout, but I kind of like thought, let's go one more against my better judgment. And it happened twice. I went, let's do a little bit more. Wow. Got a little greedy, got a little stupid, and got hurt.
Dang.
So those are my worst injuries. The hamstring torn, dislocated shoulder, missing cartilage, and a pec tore.
Wow. So what led to you creating the instructional DVDs?
Well, I know there's a lot of great people, better than I can ever be. Also, a lot of competitors that are better than I can ever be. But I think being 40 years on the mat, competitively and coaching, I gained a lot of experience. Like sheerly by virtue of being longer on the mat and on a competition scene, I've seen more stuff. It's pure math. And so I have experienced a lot of situations that people are about to, or just have without answers. And I always, my analytical mind and desire, I always go back and rewind it many times, trying to find the best solution. And then when I think I do, I go on the mat with my people or whatever, and I make sure that the solution works. Sometimes it doesn't. Then we'll go back to the lab. So what I'm saying, experience. And in coaching, competing, putting things together, and understanding different rule sets, because sometimes something in jiu-jitsu may look like a complete weird freaking heresy, but it will work just because of that, because it's like off the cuff, but it still meets other criteria of legitimacy. It can work, but you will never come up to that decision because you never experienced that other rule set or that other style. And to me, because I experienced both, I can blend them or say what is not going to get blended together, Or for example, one of the easiest things, when I'm passing somebody's guard, right?
Yep.
I can throw their legs to the side. That's what they call toreandro, right? Like a bull pass, because it's like you toro, right? You're teasing a bull or whatever. And usually that sequence leads to passing guard, knee on the belly, or if they turn away from you, it turns into taking somebody's back. But most people forget about the ankle lock. So what I'm saying, somebody who never did like a sambo or any leg lock rule set, whenever you throw their legs to the outside, they automatically going to think it's passing guard. But no, it's going to be leg lock. And moreover, it's going to be simple one because you reacted certain way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's always certain cues, little things, I guess you may call them trick or whatever, tricks of the trade, but they work like a charm, So sometimes you have some kind of skill set or answer in the current rule set that people don't know, and you act certain way and elicit a reaction that they're going to do, because it's a funnel, and then boom, you hit them with that weird thing that would never think, in a million years about, unless they would train in a different rule set. So I have trained in Sambo and Jiu-Jitsu, most notably. A variety of no-gi rule sets, with wrestling only or submissions as well. I did Shuai Jiao, Sumo, Greco, combat wrestling, Jiu-Jitsu inspired rule set. So I know how to blend it in.
Nice.
And that's what I wanted to share. That's the answer to the question.
Oh, that's a great answer. Nice.
Because of my bit of a unique experience and battle tested stuff. Because everything I teach, is like battle tested.
Yeah.
And so that's why I started to do DVDs, because I'm like, man, I've seen other people teach stuff. I think I have something to contribute. And generally responses to my teachings are nice. Sometimes I'll go and read up reviews on Budo videos or BJJ fanatics or whatever. And I'm glad that people appreciate my style, my blend, and that they find it useful.
Cool. So did you ever have any interest, or did you ever give any thought to trying to throwing your hat into the cage and doing MMA?
Oh, when I was younger, I did fight. Yeah.
You did? Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
How many fights did you do?
I have 5 fights.
Okay.
Yes. I won one, the first one. I have one what do you call it? One
draw.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Which is a bit of honestly, objectively, I have the video. Is a BS. I should have won that match, and then I lost to Peter Dragosel by decision. And then there was my last fight, which should have been a no contest. That's when I eat a knee. When somebody kneed me in the face.
Yeah.
But the promoter of the organization was begging me to go and compete, to go fight further, because people love it. And like an idiot, man, fighters, we were stupid people, and we often don't act in our own interest. And I still have a grudge against that guy, because I didn't want to look like a pussy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I stood up, I was rocked, and I was never the same. Never mind in that fight. I was never the same for a year after that knee.
Wow.
But yes, that guy, Brian Simmons, Grapplers Quest guy, he begged me to compete. And my fucking manager, did not say nothing. And, of course, I have my reputation. I'm not, I said nothing. So it kind of looks like my decision. So I understand that. But in a retrospect, he should not even have asked me that. It was completely unsafe and stupid for spectacle. It was a great fight. People loved it. And I only lost by decision, But yes, that kind of organization and everything else turned me away. And the purse, all that ass beating, for a couple $100 or something.
Yeah, back then the pay was not good. So,
yes.
Okay. So did you when you fought back then, did you have a walk-up song?
Yes. One time I had a walk-up song, and I kind of regret I did it. I mean, I love the song Steel, but it was a slow builder.
Yeah.
It was a Heart of Steel by Manowar. That was my very last fight.
Okay.
And my guy came out to, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it's a bad name, Fucking in the Bushes by Oasis. And it was a great track. It was from a Snatch soundtrack. That's when Gypsy comes out to fight, remember?
Yep.
And I'm like, son of a bitch, man, what a great song, And mine was a great song, very spiritual, but maybe not for a fight. It was like a slow burner.
Yeah.
And it was like an older CD, it was low in the mix and everything else. But yeah, my song was Manowar, Heart of Steel.
If you were going to pick a new one today, what would you pick?
Gotcha. If I am to pick one today, so funny, because I have a list. I have a playlist on YouTube. It's in Russian. It's called "На ковер вызывается," and it means you're being called to the mat, which means it's a playlist I would listen like in a right before the matches. You know what I'm saying? Like in a bullpen or whatever.
Yep.
And I would go with a song called Dragonfly by Mahogany Rush.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, check it out.
I will check it out.
Do you like rock music? Do you like Jimi Hendrix?
Oh, I love Hendrix. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sorry you never asked, but let me plug this guy in here.
Okay.
Yeah. Mahogany Rush is a Canadian trio, but then became quartet, led by outrageously talented guy named Frank Marino.
Okay.
And Frank Marino is a living proof that God exists and he loves us and God wants us to enjoy rock and roll.
Nice.
So Frank Marino started being like a Jimi Hendrix clone, so to speak. Albeit he says, Marino, that he did not try to emulate the style. It just like the style chose him. And to me, it's not a bad comparison, meaning like a comparison is not a bad thing. And he released a bunch of records, in the 70s. Fantastic. Everybody, like, whenever you read comments on YouTube, everybody says how underrated Frank Marino is. And whoever he played with, Nugent, Keith, Aerosmith, he always blew them from under the water. He's like the best thing freaking ever. And I agree with all that stuff. So anyway, later in life, he kind of dropped the Hendrix style and started to play his own, like hard rock, a bit bluesy, a bit shreddy, like outrageously blend A classic rock. Fantastic. The guy's awesome. And
cool.
Anyway, that song Dragonfly is a bit funky, is a bit rocky. Like you can certainly hear Hendrix influence. And it's from their fourth record when they were like still new. And I love that song. It's like lifts my spirit, man.
That is awesome. I like it.
Yes.
I've heard of them, so I'll have to check out that song and see if I've heard it. The first radio station I worked at when I was a teenager, when I was 15, we played 60s and 70s music. So
that's my favorite genre. I know you didn't ask. I listen a lot of music, but like where my heart is 70s rock and or rock that is released nowadays, but it sounds like it was released in the 70s.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of bands. Marshall's even released like a specs of their analog recording stuff because everybody, lately wanted digital, and some hippies and stuff want to sound like Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath. And like, hey, Marshall, give us your specs for those amplifiers and then speakers and such. So it's a big thing, man. That little revival of classic 70s rock is a thing.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. I mean, I grew up in the wrong decade, I think. I mean, I grew up listening to like Buddy Holly and stuff like that with my parents.
Nice.
But actually, I really loved the 70s band Slade.
Really?
Yeah, like run away, come on, feel the noise. Yeah.
Yes, and everything is misspelled and everything else.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. Cool.
Listen, that's a deep little drop. I'm also a record collector, and Slade is like gosh darn impossible to come by. It's a rare little find.
I have a couple. I don't have any albums by them, but I have a few 45s. So yeah, and my daughter, who's 18, is getting into vinyl collecting, and she's a big Beatles fan. So nice. Yeah, that's cool. All right, who are 3, 4, 5 names you would have put on your personal Mount Rushmore of martial arts?
Just grappling or period?
It's completely up to you. It's your personal Mount Rushmore. So whoever you want to put up there.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I would put my coach. Okay. I'm sorry. And he's not even all that quote unquote merited. Only one world champion, only once. Yeah. But to me, like, oh my goodness, I cannot state enough how his character and persona shaped me in the best way possible. So it's him.
Okay.
Then Adam Saitiev, or Adam, his name is, we will say Adam, American guys, you say Adam Saitiev, freestyle wrestler. He's like, check him out. He's outrageous. Okay. Outrageous. Number 3, I would say Eddie Bravo.
Nice.
Eddie Bravo, yeah. His ingenuity, his persona. I've met him. I know he might have like an ill fame for whatever reason, but to me, he was outrageous. And his passion for jiu-jitsu was like, and his innovation and his persona were crazy. Yeah. So that would be him. And how many on Rushmore? 4, right?
Yeah, 4 or 5. It's up to you.
4 or 5. And I would say Fedor Yemelyanenko. I know I'm a little bit biased, but not entirely. For people that do not know, actually, it's Fyodor, but American transliteration says Fedor. Fedor Yemelyanenko is a Russian sambist who has became a mixed martial arts star. He's close to my age, and I think he's doing like bare knuckle boxing now. And I wish he did not. Oh my goodness, pushing 50. Like, you don't need bare knuckle boxing. But back in the day, he was like outrageously fun to watch.
Yeah, he's an amazing kicker. I love some of his kicks in the old school fight. Okay, cool. How about a favorite martial arts book?
I don't have one, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. How about now this one? We're about the same age, so you might have an answer, you might not, but do you have a favorite martial arts video game? Did you ever get into video games?
I'm boring. I never played a single video game ever in my life.
Really?
Wow.
Okay.
Not a one.
Okay, no worries. How about a favorite martial arts TV show?
Favorite martial arts TV show? Cobra Kai, man.
Oh,
Cobra
I
Kai.
love it.
That was an easy answer.
Have you finished the final season yet?
Of course.
I've watched it 3 times already.
Nice. Yeah, so Cobra, you said show because I'm like, movies. No. Brian said shows.
Yep.
Another show, it just came to Netflix. Check it out. It's called Warrior The Warrior.
I've watched that whole series 3 times since it hit Netflix.
Never mind. Okay, yeah. So that would have been my alternative answer.
Yeah, I actually got to interview Brett Chan, who was the fight choreographer for Warrior. So, yeah, and I've had, I think, 4 or 5 people from Cobra Kai on my show. So it's
awesome.
Yeah, no, it's and like me, you talk about like movies and how we got, and the whole reason I got started in 1984 was because of the Karate Kid.
Of course.
I literally, a lot of people have. Yeah, I literally saw it, and our local Tungsten Old School was outside the movie theater handing out free passes. So
nice.
It's kind of cool.
My daughter, who's 12, like she's been doing jiu-jitsu or grappling, I guess, because I don't teach pure jiu-jitsu. So she's been doing this, but about last year, she started to get like that, the striking, the percussive bug.
Yep.
And we watch Van Damme movies. We watch all the Karate Kids. Oh my goodness. We're watching. I show her. There is a YouTube channel called Old School Fighter. Oh my God, Brian, if you're not subscribed, subscribe immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. All they do, they showcase like 80s style full contact karate and kickboxing. So fun to watch, man. It's like if somebody jabs you, you have to spin 720 and nail them in the face.
Nice.
And I want my daughter to have a preconceived notion that that's how stand-up fighting is,
Oh, very cool. I will check that out. So if you're
watching, yeah, check it out. I'll send you something, man.
I just subscribed to it. So.
Oh, there we go, bro. Just it's outrageous.
Yeah. All right. How about favorite martial arts movie?
Favorite martial arts movie? Just give me a second. I have to toss a couple of them in my head.
No problem.
Probably something with Bruce Lee. Yes.
Like Enter the Dragon,
one I think it's called Chinese Connection.
Oh, yes.
Fist of Fury.
Yeah.
Remember when he fights the Japanese occupants?
Yep.
That's the one.
There we go. I like it.
And a second alternative would be Jackie Chan's Meals on Wheels, or Wheels on Meals, rather.
Yes. Yep.
That's the one where he fights with Benny Urquidez in a castle. Yes. That's
number 2. I got to interview Benny and ask about that, so that was fun. That was a fun one to talk about. So.
That guy, Old School Fighter, does have a fantastic highlight on Benny the Jet Urquidez. Check it out, too.
Nice. I will check that out. All right. Final question. This one does not have to be a martial arts movie. Any movie you've seen in your whole life, favorite movie fight scene?
Jackie Chan versus Benny the Jet Urquidez. Yeah, in the candle room over there. Because there's another something with dragons. There is another fight, which is awesome too, in another movie. But no, that one would be my favorite. Either that or Tony Jaa's ascension to save his elephant in a Protector.
Yes, very cool.
Yes,
he's another one I'd love to get on my show. I put a request out to interview Tony Jaa, but so far no luck. We'll see. Well, Vlad, first of all, this has been so much fun. I'm glad we finally got to do this. But is there anything I forgot to ask you, or you just want to be sure to get out there before we wrap it up?
No, brother, we're good. If you maybe mention my Instagram so people can follow. Sorry to be so.
Oh no! When the episode comes out, I will put links to everything, to your website, to all your social media, whatever you want me to. And your episode is scheduled to come out on March 27th. So I got about a month.
Awesome.
And I'll be in touch before that. But yeah, no, I think the listeners are going to like this one.
I hope so. Brian, where are you? You like Apple Store, Spotify, YouTube? Where are you?
I'm on every podcast app. I mean, a lot of people just listen on my website, but I'm on every podcast app.
Got you. All right. Good to know.
Awesome. But no, seriously, man, this has been so much fun. I truly appreciate your time, and I can't wait to get this episode going.
I appreciate your time and the opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist. We hope you will join us every week for a brand new episode with a different martial artist telling their story. If you enjoy the show, be sure to leave us a review. Also, be sure to check out our website at everydaymartialartist.com. There you can find all of our episodes and contact us to suggest guests and ask questions. Again, thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist, and we'll see you next week.
This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.